Couldn't remember where the go button was. Okay, we're recording and it'll be edited, so.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Diane Collins and I'm here with Jim Slattery. And in our discussions about celebrating St. Michael's 100th anniversary and trying to figure out those families who have been here for many generations and might have stories about the church, the Slattery name always came up.
Yeah. We've been here a long time. So,
yeah.
My grandparents were one of the original members of the church. They were in the little church at Edgerton Street, and my grandpa helped haul cinders from the coal company at Herschel's here in town and filled up the creek. He and Lou Balser would come up about every day to haul cinder. And the story that my dad always told me, that Lou had a car and he lived closer to Mark Center than my grandparents did. And my grandparents lived on Brininger Road, and he would walk to 18 to meet Lou, and they'd come in and work in the church and haul those cinders to fill up this creek that's running underneath the church. I don't know how many days or how many weeks they had to work to do that, but there were other men that came in and helped haul cinder. But anyway, my grandparents were one of the original ones, and Lou and Marie Balser, they lived where Nancy Chapman lives, on 18, and they were related somehow to Anna. My Aunt Biddy called her sis. She lived over by Speedy Mart here on High Street, and that was Marie's Balser's sister, and I'm sure they were one of the original families too.
Was it Myrtle Sleesher, was it?
No, that was, Myrtle and John were probably one of the original people in the church. I believe the Herschels they lived out on 49 toward Antwerp. Aarons, Bernard and Bill Aaron were one of the original people that started in the church. Those are some of the names that I can remember. Of course, the Timbrooks, they were related to the Slatterys. Aunt Mary Timbrook was Dad's sister.
Okay.
So that's how the Timbrooks and the Slatterys are related. And Jim Timbrook was Dad's first nephew.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but the Timbrooks were one of the original Slattery family. Dad was the youngest of 8, and
your dad is Dennis, just for the...
Yeah, my dad's Dennis, and he was the youngest of 8 children. There were 5 girls and 3 boys, and when this church was dedicated, Dad was the server.
Oh, really?
And I can remember him telling that my grandma made him put a suit on. He had to be dressed up. He couldn't come in just ordinary clothes, so he didn't like it very well. They had to dress up. But anyway, he was the server when they dedicated this original church.
Now, you were telling me, and I've heard that the original church was over on Edgerton Street.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot of the people, the original Catholics in the area, they didn't have a church to go to, and they would maybe meet in homes, or my grandparents went to church at Cecil. There was a little wood church over there. I don't know whether Cecil was always called that, but I can remember as a kid, they still had church there, and we'd go there sometimes during the holidays or the feast days that we couldn't go somewhere else, so we'd go to Cecil. And I can remember that as you sat in the pews in the church, when they rang the bell in the tower, the church moved.
Oh.
So, but it was, that's where they went to church first, and then when they decided they were going to build a church here in Hicksville, that's where they started. There is a picture of the church in one of our older directories. Also, Ruth Cook, when the bank was remodeled or built in Hicksville, she painted a picture of the Catholic Church, the little one. And it's still, I think as far as I know, it still hangs in the bank.
Okay.
Down in the basement area or the stairwell. And Dottie Green, she's the one that painted the mural of the Episcopal Church and some of the scenes in Hicksville.
Okay.
So that's kind of a history of Hicksville and the churches, but Ruth thought since they had the Episcopal Church as original church that there should be a picture of the Catholic. So she painted a picture of the Catholic Church and donated it to the bank.
Yeah.
And
Did I hear that church burned? Is that?
no,
Oh.
it didn't burn. When I don't know how long they must have kept it for a long time, because we lived out on the Edgerton farm, and I think some of the council from the church here came out and asked Dad if he would want to buy it and move it out to the farm. But he didn't do that. But later then, they just tore the church down.
Okay.
So, but it was a cute little church. I can remember as a kid being in there. Like I said, the feast days and so on, you had to go and confess and get ready for communion, and I could run around in the church. So, but then when they moved over here, I don't remember that. I guess I wasn't born yet. But when Dad got married, they got married. They didn't get married here in the church. They got married at the parsonage in Antwerp, and we started going to church here. And I have had 4 sisters and a brother. So Dolores, Michael, Donna Rice, and Darlene Teakin, and Deanna Wise, and Pat was my brother. And Pat and Donna are both gone now. But we went here. I've gone to this church basically all my life.
Were your sisters all married here?
Donna was not. She was married in New York. Darlene was.
There might be some sources of pictures there
Yeah,
then.
yeah, they have. They were all married here. Dolores was the first, and I want to say Father Schill married them, I think. And then Darlene got married to a Dave Teakin, and Carol and I were married here in this church. We were all married. Pat was not married in this church, but
Were you an altar boy?
I was for a brief time, but I didn't like it, so I didn't stay. Pat now, he was quite a few years. I was an altar boy when Father Flynn was here.
Okay.
And I can remember that during week mass, we'd come to church, and Father lived in Antwerp. Father Flynn lived in Antwerp, and he wondered if he could give me a ride home, because we either rode our bikes or we walked up to church. And I can remember a conversation with him that he said, "Do you speak Pig Latin?" I says, "No." And he said, "Well, your name in Pig Latin is MJ." And I could still remember that, telling me that. But Father was priest here quite a while, and then I think it was, can't remember which, I think it was Father Schill, I think, came after
Okay.
that. And then we had Niedermeyer.
Father Stein was here
Father
when I
Stein.
was born.
Father Stein was the one. Father Schill did the first addition or remodeling of the church. They did. There was front steps open on the north end of the church there, and they didn't like it because it was okay during the summer, but in the wintertime it was not very safe to come up the big steps. So he enclosed that, and then the side steps, he enclosed that on the east side. That was the first thing that they had done, change in the church. Other than that, they hadn't changed anything. Then when Father Stein came, he opened it up on the back and added an addition to the back, and the altar was in the middle. And that was there for a long time until the last remodel, and then we opened it up and put the altar like a semicircle.
Yeah.
But basically, I've been here for, well, in July I'll be 80 years old, so.
You know, I was thinking last night about talking to you, and I thought, you know, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of this church, and I'm 64, and that sounds almost like 100. But then I thought, well, you know, yeah, so
Well, that's like I was trying to think. I could remember the little old church, the first one, and I said I was in it, and I says I can still see it, you know, visualize it, but I says, but it was back all those years. Well, I had to start doing some calculating, and I said, well, I could have been in that church. So
yeah.
when I saw the pictures of the interior and the exterior, I said, yeah, I know I was in that church.
Yeah.
So.
And I know that I'll refer to it as the old side of church, the original side. You know, our family always sat the fourth pew from the front on the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
Did your family have a particular
We
place?
usually sat on the other side.
Uh-huh.
It was about halfway up. The Linders, Henry and Hanky and her mother, they sat pretty close to the front. They always had about the same pew. It's kind of funny because the people usually sat in the same pew each week.
Yeah.
And you just came in and you knew that pew was going to be open. So, but I know the Linders sat in front of us, and of course, I don't remember Bill or Bernard Aaron. That was Mary's husband. Mary played the organ, so I can't tell you where Bernard sat. He was somewhere, I think, on the. As you face the altar, he was on the left side. But
Tell me what organist you remember.
I remember Mary Aaron, and then Mrs. Herschel, Edna
Yeah,
Herschel.
Edna Herschel.
She played quite a while. She played when our kids were little, and
I remember April Davis.
April played a
And
long time.
The funniest memory I have is her sitting up in the choir loft playing the organ, smoking a cigarette. And it's,
I know she was a smoker, but I don't know if she smoked at the church.
oh, she did. She smoked up there while she was playing the organ. And I remember that. I just love that memory.
Well, I don't know whether Mrs. Sindel ever played or not, but I think she might have been able.
Wanda?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she might have been able to play. Ricky Slattery, she played
Yeah.
some, and of course, let's see. After that, she lives over by the church in 101. Tall blonde one.
Yes, Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Yeah.
She played. Then after that,
Yeah.
I lost track.
It's so nice to hear these names. Of course, you know, some of them are from very long ago, but yet, as a child, I can remember those names and, you know, the Wanda Sindels and just, that's just so neat to think about those people again.
Yeah.
Names I haven't heard for a long time.
And the choir, Bernard Brown sang in the choir, Wanda sang, Sindel, and the Siebenauers, Dick, the oldest brother, and Mouse Jones, Jim Jones, they sang in the choir.
And Jim's mother.
He,
Yeah, Herschel.
she was a Herschel. Her
Yeah.
maiden name was Herschel. Now
Yeah.
that was the sister to Bill that had the coal company here. What was
Okay.
her name?
I did
Helen.
not know that.
Helen Hersey.
Hersey.
Helen Hersey.
Yeah.
And of course, then she would have been a sister-in-law to Edna because Edna was married to Bill. Now, Bill died when I think I was in the fourth. No, I wasn't. I was in about a freshman, sophomore in high school. And I can remember coming to his mass, and I think at that time I served with Bobby Linder and Bob Boone. I don't know whether Terry was a server or not, but they were in Bill was in our class, young Bill. And so I know I served mass for that funeral.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, we were discussing before we got started, we were discussing the altar over there that is with the tabernacle.
Yeah.
How about if we just move on over there?
that'll be fine. Yeah.
So now we're over here at our tabernacle, and Jim's going to tell you about some historical things about this.
This was a side altar as you're facing the altar, it would have been on the left side. Basil Slisher, when the church was being remodeled, as it is today, he took this and he cut the altar down. And this was the middle, and on each end is the Greek letters Alpha and Omega, which was in the front. And he made it so it would fit as a tabernacle table. And he told the story that the birds that are depicted here in the mosaic is the mother bird and the baby birds, and they're all seeming to be eating, and the mother bird pecked her belly so it would bleed, and she was feeding her birds, her babies. And the symbolism is that the church feeds its flock. So he told that story, and then the tabernacle was the original tabernacle in the church before any remodeling was done. And the Myers family, the Charles Myers family, they restored it, and we used it in the remodeling. And it opens up, and it is on a swivel, and the doors roll back, and then you can see the chalice and it's all redone. But they went and did that for a family memorial. Also, they donated our light that shows that the host is present, and I thought that would be kind of an interesting story. But this was the original, one of the original altars, and we used that on days that we couldn't, during Lent, we'd have to use the side altar, and this was where that altar came from.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you for spending the time to meet with me and tell your stories, what you know for the 100th year anniversary video that we're going to do.
Okay, thank
So,
you for inviting me.
If you
So-
think of anything else that you want to add to it, we can always do that.
Okay,
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So-